G'day everyone, my name's Cautious Pancake and today let's have a quick look at all of the new POIs that can be found in 2.0. To start with, I'll quickly mention that my mod from 1.0 has now been updated for those who, like me, can't always remember if a POI is a new one or not. This mod will do it for you and show a small yellow asterisk against the POIs that are new in 2.0. That way when you're picking up a quest or just wandering around, you'll know if it's a new one or not. You can download it from Nexus Mods with the link in the description, and it's XML only, so it should also work with servers. Moving on, let's jump in and have a look at the questable locations that were added. Note that I'm going to try and not put any spoilers, but be aware there might be a few minor ones. Hybrid Mining is one of the two massive 100 by 100 meter Tier 5 POIs that have been added in 2.0. It's filled with plenty of equipment, gas and flames, a multi-level interior to explore, as well as a great environmental build, and probably even a zombie or two. This huge POI is going to be a blast. The quarry is the second of the new Tier 5s, and will challenge you to find your way around the multiple levels and tunnels. With so many little touches, make sure you take your time to explore the POI after you've cleared out the zombies, of course, to appreciate the work that's gone into this build. While there's no Tier 4 POIs appearing currently, there is one in the POI editor, but I've not been able to get it to appear in any of the maps. So we move on instead to Tier 3, which starts with the Rejects Gang Outpost. This POI looks like a clone of Rex that has been taken over by some bandits. So if you want to imagine lots of bad things happening to the wreck that used to live here while you clean out the zombies, feel free. The Fortified Farm is another questable Tier 3 location, but this looks more like a group of survivors have taken up residence here, at least at some point in the past. I really like the elements that have been used in this one, from the central shower block to the mini gun range. It really feels like a legitimate fortified farm for a few fellow survivors. Spelunker's Surprise is the first of our Tier 2 new POIs, and the first of quite a few caves that were added in 2.0. You can see that the Fun Pimps level designers have had a lot of fun with some new tools to manipulate the environment, and I think all of the caves we'll see are pretty nice and a good bit of variety to add from the usual structures. Breather's Pocket is another neat cave to explore. Just make sure you don't get turned around in the underwater sections or you risk drowning. Glover Fair Boxing Gym, apart from having a neat name, is a tiny little POI with all of the rooms you'd expect from a boxing gym, from weights room to showers, and obviously the required boxing ring. Casa de Vino is a lovely little villa-style house with small outdoor pool and an outdoor shower, grand entranceway with master bedroom, high ceilings throughout, and a neat little fire pit out back. A nice little house to kick back and relax in after a hard day of zombie slaying. Don Diego Estate is a Tier 2 POI that looks like it could be another one that might be turned into a bandit location once those are added in a future release. For now though, it's a neat little Tier 2 with plenty of hiding spots up high to watch out for. The last of the Tier 2 POIs added in this release is the Congregation of Blind Faith, a tent church with some associated outbuildings and a little farm. Now there's 10 new Tier 1 POIs that were added in the 2.0 release. Due to their smaller size, I won't go into a heap of detail on each one, and hopefully you enjoy Tier 1 caves, because there's 5 of them. Which I personally quite like for the variety, although with all of these being wilderness POIs, they won't pop up very often. Particularly since the change where, when you progress through biomes, you don't have to go back and start from Tier 1 quests anymore like you used to. So the only time many people will do Tier 1 is right at the start, where wilderness POIs are inconvenient due to the lack of transportation. So if you have a chance to do these, you should definitely try them on, since I expect that normal progression in the later biomes will be skipping them. I also can't help but call out Duck Station for 2 reasons. First is that I love the aesthetic and the design on this one, the little booth and bed area that matches, and general feel of the bunker underground is fantastic. Second is the little coloured light style key system for opening up the final loot gate. Obviously this is a familiar mechanic used in plenty of other games, but one that could be used a little bit more in 7 days, at least in my opinion. The downside is obviously that once you know where the buttons are, it makes it a whole lot easier. But if they wanted to be really tricky, they could implement a system like the Satchel, where the button moves around through various spawn points throughout the POI. Anyway, that's getting a bit off topic. Those were the Tier 1 POIs. So those were the questable locations that were added in 2.0. For the non-questable locations, usually referred to as remnants, these are typically smaller locations that add in interesting little ideas and stories to the game. They typically only have a few zombies and a small loot reward, either in a crate or some books, or maybe a weapons bag. Anyway, let's jump in and have a look at them. First up, we have a set of 4 bunkers. Some have small interiors with various styling, others are just starting their construction, but these underground defences might be a good place to check out. Next up, we've got 2 more caves, both of which could probably have been made into Tier 1 POIs, but it's probably better that they didn't do all of them as questable locations and left just a couple of them as remnants. I particularly like the more hidden entrance of the secret chamber and the addition of the fallen log bridge. Moving from the wilderness to the city, we have 4 new commercial malls, which all offer both some nice exploration and potential places to build. In particular, I'd call out the Outlaw Outlets, which looks like a perfect location for a future release that maybe adds bandits to the game. Given the flags, spikes, and sheet metal reinforced towers that provide good sniping locations. I'll be interested to see if that's just theming, or if I'm right and it's turned into a bandit POI in the future. 3 new farms have been added. The tackle box is my favourite of the 3, just because it's a little less generic, but both of the other 2 farms also have some nice distinguishing water features to break up the landscape a little bit. There's also 3 new houses as remnants, the first of which is probably my pick of these. I love the semi-flooded ground floor concept, something a little bit different from the usual houses you find, and it also adds a little bit of an audio warning for zombies that are approaching, and it also adds a little bit of an audio warning for zombies that might be approaching you if you were to build up on the 2nd level. Now before we get into some of the bigger groups of remnants, there's also a few individual ones to look at that didn't fit any sort of other categories. First up is Area 7. I found this massive POI out in the desert, and it's currently being included in Random World Gen maps. I'm not sure if this is a mistake though, or intended, so it will be interesting to see if it's still there when 2.0 goes stable. It honestly feels like it's a Tier 5 POI that's not yet finished, but I could be wrong and this is the intended setup. Given the emptiness though of such a large space and the lack of any sort of decorations in some of the vehicle garages and other areas, I hope that this is something that they're actually still working on, as it feels like it could be an epic Tier 5 location when complete. It's even strangely got a Tier 5 loot pile if you're able to find it, so if you're playing the experimental, definitely keep an eye out for this one as something to go and explore. If it does stay empty as well, I think this could be a super location for a horde base. Another POI that doesn't sort of fit into any other category, this is just a small little POI that's been added for the cities. There's also another office block for a former stock brokerage firm. The Jolton Hotel is a large rundown hotel. It feels a bit like the Zombona POI in style, but it is different. And if you were playing with a group of friends, it might just be a fun place to turn into a base. Maybe give everyone their own floor to build up and decorate. The Seller's Trailer is a small little house with a yard sale going on in front. And finally, a large cell tower has been added as a new remnant. Next, we move on to one of the bigger categories of the new remnants, which is 17 new POIs that should only ever appear in the burnt biome to add some extra character builds to the wilderness. While some of these are quite small and others are almost just a wall and a pile of rubble, they do add a certain something to the feel of the world that I think is an improvement overall. It's also worth noting that a number of these POIs have a little extra something hidden away as mini secrets to uncover. They usually aren't too hard to find, but it's worth just spending that extra minute to have a look through some of these if you haven't seen them before, both for the story and for the extra little bit of loot that might be sometimes hidden away. The next set of remnants is a group of 10 different buildings from the downtown district of cities in the Wasteland. Featuring everything from banks to jewelry and liquor stores, these POIs will add some extra options to your downtime looting and exploration options. As with the burnt biome remnants previously, these will sometimes have a little extra story somewhere in the rubble, and the occasional loot crate added in as a reward for detouring to check out what they have to offer, as well as maybe a zombie or two to keep you on your toes. Not all of them do, some are just a shell of a building with some furniture, but more often than not there's something that can be found hidden away. Next up is 16 more Wasteland only remnants. Unlike the previous set, which were for the cities though, these are only for the wilderness. Which I think is necessary, with the change to remove all of the rubble from the ground in the Wasteland, which is a nice change that makes driving when not on the roads a whole lot easier now. The risk was though that the Wasteland would then feel a whole lot more empty. That's obviously where these remnants come in and should hopefully help make things feel a little bit more populated. I like the reuse of the EasyChem depot, this time as a trashed version compared to the nice pristine version we saw earlier. Same deal with the secrets, there's at least a couple of these that have nice little areas to explore, as well as scattered loot spots in a number of them as well. The only concern I have with these is how many people will actually see them. By the time you get to the Wasteland with the new enforced biome order, it will be easy to miss all of these remnants as you whiz by in a 4x4 motorcycle or gyro. And given these are small remnants, I suspect a lot of players will just keep driving, looking for the bigger and badder tier POIs. I could be wrong, let me know in the comments if you're already at Wasteland or not, or what you think you'd do when you get there. Are you going to stop and check these out, or are you just driving by? Next up are 9 campgrounds that can be found out in the wilderness. These generally are more of a flavour thing than for exploring or loot, but there are still some nice touches in there to tell a little story sometimes. Or at least add something to stumble across when you're out searching for a supply drop. The next set of remnants are grave sites. With 7 of these, it's a little more than I would have thought needed to be added, but I guess in a game focused on zombies, having some extra graves around might be a good thing. Make sure you do explore the larger ones, and also check out the Grasp of Silence monument for one of the cooler looking environmental sculptures in the game. Next up is an assortment of 6 shacks. From the rustic sheds to the luxurious hot tub getaways, these little additions also help add interest, while also giving you a spot to escape a biome storm if you happen to get caught while out exploring. 3 wilderness utility stations are next, a couple of energy substations and a water pumping station. As with the EasyChem depot, I like the fact that they've taken the electricity stations we've seen for years and turned them into broken down versions to help with the world building. And finally, my 9 favourite new additions are the littlest flavour POIs that have been added. These speak for themselves, just fun little spots to stumble across as you explore the world. So that's it for all the new POIs in the game. I hope this has inspired you to go check a few of these out, and don't forget to download the mod if you want a prompt in game to see whether it's one of the new ones when you get there. Thanks to my awesome supporters on Patreon for their support. Thanks to you for watching this video, and happy exploring.